your election headquarters, and as election 2024 draws near, Dr. Daniel Augustus Lartey Jnr., presidential candidate of the GCPP, sits down with me this morning to discuss his vision for Ghana. From addressing economic challenges to restoring local industries, he shares how his party's domestication policy could transform the nation. So let's discuss this. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation, Doctor. You are welcome. Can I just call you Dr. Lartey?
Of course you can, yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Great. Dr. Lartey, before we get into your policies and vision for the country, I want you to tell me what your assessment of the state of affairs in the build-up to election 2024. How do you think we're faring as a nation?
I think that we're doing quite well because at the end of the day, we know that the Electoral Commission is there to make sure that democracy prevails. And so at the back of that, I cannot see anything that should go wrong. The Electoral Commission has got its ways of doing the checks and balances to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So from where I'm sitting, I think it's pretty good. Okay. Yeah.
How long have you nursed this presidential ambition?
How long have I had it?
Yeah.
How long is a piece of string?
Since 2000 or way further than that?
Yeah, because the thing is, as some of you would know, my father is the late Dan Lartey, who's at Domestication. So I've been in this political era for a very, very long time, since I was this age. And most people say that you can run around and do what you want to do, but eventually it happens that what your father did, you end up doing. I've lived in England for about 40 years. I've got my kids in England. I'm a qualified financial consultant, an international financial consultant. I'm a global merchandiser. My CV precedes me when I have to bring top investors into the country to help us build a prosperous and a better Ghana.
And you are affectionately called Dan Lartey.
Yes.
Which is good. Now, the GCPP has long promoted the domestication policy as a way to revitalize Ghana's economy. Is this your overarching vision for Ghana? And elaborate more on this.
Yeah. Sorry. My vision for Ghana is to make sure that we are self-reliant, which is terribly important for everything that we do. If we can't rely on ourselves, we can't feed ourselves, we can't buy our own, industry and our own products that we produce, then we are, we are in trouble. So my leadership with the GCPP is to make sure that we are self-reliant. We grow what we eat and we eat what we grow. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to do that for us if we don't do it. And if you don't help yourself, nobody helps you.
And grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Yeah. We've seen so many policies in the past, We've seen so many policies in the past that seek to promote this Eat Ghana, Grow Ghana, agenda. What are you going to do differently to make it sustainable? Because it looks as if we start for a bit and then it just ends somewhere. Yeah. So what are you proposing that you're going to do differently? Right.
Now, what I'm proposing is, because, we've neglected the youth for a very, very long time. And I have to be 100% with you. I'm with the youth. And I'm going to make sure that the youth are employed. And the best way to start employment is to do it through farming. Because I quite remember when I was little, my father was head of government business when Achampon was in power. And it was the first time that they had this concept of Operation Feed Yourself. And this Operation Feed Yourself leads us to domestication. That's why the old man started using the word domestication, and not many people understood it. They thought it was just something that he was saying. But this is a man who has done it and tested it. And it was the first time in those times, in the 70s, that Ghana exported maize. Can you believe it? And since then, we've done nothing. And since my father left, the government at the time, nothing has happened. But he spearheaded Operation Feed Yourself. We were self-reliant. He spearheaded, Dansuma Estate. So if he can do it, we can do it. And if we can do it, I can do it, because we have the resources.
Okay. You said in the next week or so, you'll be launching your manifesto.
That's correct, yeah.
A document that contains all your vision and promises for the country.
Yeah.
But I really want to get very clear understanding of how you intend to turn Ghana's economy around with domestication. So I like that you said, eat what you grow, grow what you eat. If you were voted into power, let's say at the end of this year, in the elections, in the first 100 days as president, how are you strategically going to turn our country's fortunes around by using this domestication policy? What specifically are you going to do?
What specifically are we going to do? Now, you know, Rome was not built in a day. And so was Europe, because Europe, as we see them, did not develop by whims or caprices. They farmed. They did farm. They did serious farming, and it was hard work. And we know that it's hard work. And I'm sure the youth also knows that it's hard work. And we will start with farming. And you know that when you do the farming properly, you know that every 3 months there's a produce that comes out. So these produce you can have, you can eat some and you can sell some. Those you can't sell, my government will have cold stores that will buy it from you. And then we can export and get foreign currency. I like to keep it very simple, because I know people like to use jargons and stuff like that, but it's not necessary. The best thing to do is, how do we solve our problem? And if we can't feed ourselves, there's no way we can solve our problems. There's no way we can solve our problem. Ghana cannot solve its problems without not feeding itself.
We have the Planting for Food and Jobs, One District, One Factory, and some other initiatives and policies that seek to address the same issue about agriculture and, being the bane or backbone of a thriving economy, and how we can also tap into that to thrive as a nation. What would be your plan for these already existing policies and initiatives? And then, this is my final bit, and then what are you doing differently? How are you tweaking them? You say you are going to, start from farming, agriculture, but what are you doing? Are you going to say that you provide funding for a group of young people to start farming? Are you going to complete or ensure that the places where there are challenges with the implementation of the One District, One Factory and One Planting for Food and Jobs, the challenges, are you going to be fixing them? I just want actionable steps on what you want to do, maybe just 3, and then we can move on to other issues. So, for example, in your first 100 days in office, what actionable steps? And you've said great things about farming and agriculture, planting what we want to eat and all that. And if your produce, you have more than you need, you have someone come in, states will buy it from you for export. So that's one. I want to take that as one. So you buy from farmers for export purposes. And then what? Right.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to encourage the peasant farmers currently, because they're doing so well. Because without them, we will even be buying more tomato from Burkina Faso and onions from all over the place. But these peasant farmers have worked so hard, and I think that we will follow how they farm, because they are traditional farmers. And then the youth will come in, because the youth are unemployed. There's so many of them unemployed. So to boost the economy, we will encourage the youth. And we've got finance behind us. We've got investors from the US. We've got investors from Poland. We've got investors from Ukraine who are coming into the country to help us. I meet with the CEOs of, GIPC. His Excellency Michael Quay at Ghana Fusions with investors who have come into town to help us build our country, because farming to me is the beat and everything. Because if you can't feed yourself, sweetie, if you can't feed yourself, how can you then say that you're going to develop? You have to develop, but we need the youth to come with us. Because the youth has been, I wouldn't say that, but they've been left behind for quite a long time, and there's so many of them have no jobs. I drive in town and you see them walking around. I was in Osu ShopRite the other day, And I saw this guy say, oh, I want to park here. So I got out of the car and I called them, about 10 of them. I said, look, I'm going to get you a job. We're going to do farming. He said, please, let's do it. So if at that age they want to do it, why? I mean, why are we sitting back and then being partisan about certain things that are not necessary? We need to get the youth into employment. And through that, I think that, we'll be on a sound footing. Trust me, I believe in the youth.
Okay. So then, Lartey, corruption has been a persistent issue in Ghana, affecting public trust, service delivery, in fact, every aspect of the country.
Right.
The two major political parties have been clear on how they intend to tackle it. What are your plans to strengthen anti-corruption institutions and ensure greater transparency in government?
That's a good question. I like that. And I'm enjoying this now.
Okay. I'm glad you are.
But who determines what corruption is?
Who determines what corruption is?
Who determines what corruption is? You see, because you can say, oh, this person is corrupt. But who determines it? You see, because if we look at the negative aspect of things, when we look at, oh, you are corrupt, we're not going to go anywhere. Let's move this country forward. Let's stop, pointing fingers at people that you are corrupt and look, corruption, didn't start today. If you even go into the Bible, they've been corrupt a long time ago. But I believe that let's use our energies, let's be positive and not start saying you are corrupt. And let's harness our energies to improve this country by seriously farming. We can, look, Europe did not develop by wind or by caprices.
Just a second there.
Yeah.
So, like I started saying, corruption has been a big issue in this country.
Yeah.
We've seen incidences of corruption or corruption-related incidences,
right,
which influence the formation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to tackle some of these issues. There are many issues in this country that you realize that our monies have been used for things that cannot be, defended or explained to our understanding.
Yeah.
You and I know what corruption is. Using public office to gain undue favor.
Okay.
And so on and so forth. Which, when you follow some of the stories and the incidences, it tells you that, or it shows you, paints a picture, that we are making money in this country, or we have the means to make money in this country, but it's slowly seeping into the individual pockets of political actors and people in power in high position. That is a challenge. So we cannot say that we should stop pointing accusing fingers at each other and say, this is who is more corrupt than me, like you're saying. We cannot also say that we will forget about it and focus on farming. The issue of corruption is not negligible. So how do you, as a presidential aspirant, intend to deal with it? Because it is a canker eating at the very fiber of this country in terms of our democratic development. How would you tackle corruption?
Right. Now, let me come back again to say that, who determines corruption? But then again, also, I understand where you're coming from and understand all the points that you're giving. But yes, how do we know that this person is taking government's money to do something? Have we got evidence of those bits? If we have evidence of those bits, then the laws will deal with it. But I think that there's so much speculation also. Because, look, someone can see and might think that, oh, yeah, it's also pilfering, but you're not. So what I'm saying is, I think that we should focus our energies on trying to fix this country than, going about corruption. Because, yes, there might be, I'm not saying there is, there might be corruption, but how factual is it?
Are you saying how factual is it?
Yeah, because the thing is, how factual is it? Because there's a lot of hearsay.
Did you know about the PDS scandal, the Ejapa royalty scandal, the cash for seat scandal, the Jida scandal? In fact, let me just go ahead of myself and add the Cecilia Dapa case, the judicial bribery scandal. So many issues in this country.
Yeah.
If you ask how factual it's almost as if saying that we didn't even need the Office of the Special Prosecutor in the first place.
No, because we've got, that office to verify, make sure that, all these cases are true. If it's true, then measures should be taken about it.
Are you saying that corruption is not as serious as Ghanaians take it?
Well, I mean, you see, because corruption is, I mean, it's been going on for, I mean, for centuries. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that there's no corruption or there's no corruption anywhere. But why don't we use our energies, as we deal with corruption, why don't we use our energy, the most important thing, to fix this country?
So the reason we cannot do that...
the reason that you cannot fix this country is because of the corruption.
No, the reason we cannot ignore corruption and focus our energy on fixing the country is because it feeds back into how effective we can be as a nation.
Right. Okay,
so, for example, government collects taxes from citizens.
Yeah.
The revenue generated is supposed to be used for developmental projects to ensure that the citizens, you know, our livelihoods, even though if it's not the easiest, at least we understand that we're working towards something, right? And then you wake up and find out that the monies that you are contributing to the development of this country is sitting in someone's pocket, or they're digging a pit somewhere. Let me just cite the National Cathedral because I don't understand how so much money is gone into that swimming pool we are seeing. And you wake up and you realize that you are doing your bit as a citizen. You're going to school, you're getting a job, you're paying your taxes, and the money is not actually going to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
We get foreign investment in various sectors of this country. You can talk about road development. We get foreign aid every now and then. Yeah. In fact, let me not go far. We are still under IMF. After 11 months, the government is saying that they are confident that they will meet all their targets for the third assessment. In fact, there's a team in town so that we can get the next, tranche of money that we need. If we are not seeing where the money is going as citizens, and we see how we are growing leaner by day, I don't mean that literally, but political actors and government officials are just bloating up in front of us. How do we get the sanity of mind to still go about our day-to-day activities and say that, it's okay, it's negligible, I can still pay taxes? If you go to work as a public official and you know that, I'm sorry,
I'm listening.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that you're saying that corruption is not as serious as it should be.
No, I'm not saying it's not as serious.
And then you find out that as a government official, someone comes to you, is asking you for a service. You know how we even do it, not even politicians. Instead of 500 cedis, they will tell you 1,000 cedis because at the end of the day, they want to put some money in their pocket. And this is because the systems don't work.
I mean, when it comes to that, I do agree with you because, you see, the morale behind that, you say, is because we're not self-reliant enough. You see, because if we're self-reliant enough, and if we're doing the right things, like, and I keep going back to the domestication concept of farming. You see, when you are satisfied, there are certain things that you take care of. But when you're very hungry, you're an angry man. Okay.
So the Electoral Commission has been a subject of, should I call it controversy, issues, because the NDC is saying that, and not just the NDC, just this morning I read that the ARC, Alliance for Revolutionary Change, and some other parties and independent candidates are also backing the call for a forensic audit into the provisional voters register. How confident are you in the Electoral Commission, and where do you stand in terms of the ongoing issues with the Electoral Commission?
Well, we all know that the Electoral Commission is an independent entity. And so when it comes to elections, they have to do what's right. They have to determine what should do. Who becomes a flag bearer, because there are processes that you have to go through. I know that most people are talking about the electoral roll and so on, and bits and pieces like that. But I think that, and I trust that the Electoral Commission will not do anything out of context to jeopardize the democracy of this country. That is my belief. I don't think it's going to do anything to jeopardize this country. And I don't think that it will do anything that will affect either the NDC or the MPP or any other political party. It's there to make sure that there's integrity, there's respect, and there's democracy. So on that note, that's how I see the Electoral Commission.
So whether or not there's an audit, independent forensic audit into the voters register, you believe and trust that the EC is well and is well equipped, the integrity is not a problem, and they can deliver free, fair elections.
Well equipped, and whatever comes out of that, I'm sure that they will address it.
Okay, let's talk about Galamsey, and this is my final bit to you. We are pressed for time. We've seen CSOs, religious bodies, individuals, political stalwarts, all say that let's take a break from small-scale mining, illegal mining activities, because it's damaging our water bodies.
Yeah.
Ghana Water Company Limited is feeling the pinch. They say they are unable to supply the 70%, which was already a deficit. We're all the way back down to 30 or 40, I think, because of Galamsey.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the fight against Galamsey and where we are now?
Galamsey, I mean, my very good friend, Canon Dr. Lawrence Tete, went absolutely berserk on everybody over the weekend about Galamsey and illegal mining. Galamsey, to me, I think, is a fever in a way, and we have to try and cure the fever. But we cannot cure the fever if we keep saying that, oh, Galamsey or illegal mining. We have to let them know that there's another option that the GCPP, under my leadership, will bring to the table. We are going to make sure that farming becomes fashionable again, so they can compare the farming side with this Galamsey.
Cocoa farmers are giving up their farms so that illegal miners can dig and get some gold.
Yeah.
You're saying farming will solve this problem?
It's education. If these farmers are educated properly. Now, we're going to enhance our youth to be educated properly, so they understand the difference between this Galamsey, between the gold, because you see, farming and gold is what keeps this country going anyway. Right, so now if one is going to destroy the other, you need to educate the population. You need to educate the youth. Because the youth are going to take over from us.
Okay.
We'll be gone.
What would be your final word in about 30 seconds, because we have to go?
My final word is that the GCPP, under my leadership, is not going to be partisan. We're going to put everybody together. I think we're all Ghanaians, and we want a better Ghana for everybody. We want Ghana to be the most beautiful place to come. We want to have enough food to eat. We want to be generous. And I think Ghanaians are generous, and Ghanaians are helpful. So please, all political parties, let's hold our hands. Let's move forward. Let's domesticate the youth. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Farming is the ultimate.
And that there is Dr. Daniel Augustus Lartey Jnr., a.k.a. Dan Lartey, presidential candidate for the Great Consolidation Party. Consolidated Party. Thank you so much, political party. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
And we hope to meet again.
Sure. Let's take a break now. We'll return with more on the AM show.